Story 1. Control Channel 0 was never assigned. I stopped mid-keystroke when the voice came through Channel 0. My hand hovered over the log screen, cursor blinking where I'd been documenting routine silence. The voice was calm, professional, and delivering a status update for an incident I'd closed 3 hours ago. Except the details were different, more accurate, like someone had gone back and corrected my work before I'd even filed it. I've worked the overnight control desk at Central Transit Operations for 11 years. The job is repetitive in the best way. Monitor feeds, log anomalies, coordinate maintenance windows, and ensure every active channel stays accounted for. There are 87 official channels spanning the subway system. Each one is mapped, labeled, and assigned to a specific function. Platform intercoms, tunnel maintenance lines, dispatch coordination, emergency responder frequencies. Channel 0 doesn't exist. It's not skipped or reserved. It simply isn't part of the allocation. The first time I heard it, I assumed equipment error. It was 2:47 in the morning, mid-September, during the dead stretch between the last downtown express and the first northbound maintenance run. I was finishing incident documentation for a stalled train on track 11 when the auxiliary speaker on my right console crackled. Not static, actual voice transmission. Control, this is Channel 0 confirming clearance on track 11, Section 4C. Stall resolved at 0241. Operator reports no mechanical fault. Passenger manifest logged, proceeding to depot. I sat back. The voice was calm, masculine, and used correct terminology. But track 11 stall had resolved at 0238, not 41. The operator hadn't mentioned passengers because the train had been running empty for depot return. I checked my frequency monitor. No active transmission showed on any assigned channel. I keyed my mic. Control to unidentified transmission. Identify your channel and designation. Silence. Then, 5 seconds later, the same voice returned. Channel 0, stand by for next update. I pulled up the master frequency directory. Channel 0 wasn't listed. I cross-referenced with archived engineering documents dating back to the subway's expansion in the 1970s. Nothing. I flagged the incident in my log and noted it as possible interference from an external radio source. That's what I told myself. That's what I wrote. The next occurrence was 4 nights later. I just cleared a signal delay on platform C7 when the voice returned. Control. This is Channel 0 confirming signal restoration on platform C7 at 0314. No passenger impact. Delay duration, 6 minutes 40 seconds. Incident logged. I hadn't logged it yet. The delay had only just cleared. I was still watching the board, waiting for the automated timestamp to populate before I documented anything. But the voice had already filed the report, and the duration matched exactly what my screen showed 2 seconds later. 6 minutes, 40 seconds. I tried to respond again. This time I didn't ask for identification. I asked a direct question. Channel 0, how are you receiving real-time data? The reply came immediately. Control, real-time data is accessed through standard monitoring systems, same as your terminal. That stopped me cold. Same as my terminal. The phrasing wasn't just professional. It was familiar. Like someone sitting at an identical desk watching identical feeds, filing identical logs. I checked my access permissions. No other active users showed on the network. I was the only operator on shift. I pulled up security footage of the control room. Empty hallway, locked doors. Just me. Over the following weeks, Channel 0 became routine. It transmitted during every shift, always after I'd handled an incident, but before I'd finished logging it. The voice corrected minor errors, rounded timestamps, misidentified platform designations, incomplete passenger counts. It never contradicted major facts, only refined details I'd overlooked. At first, I thought someone was monitoring my work remotely and offering real-time quality control. I asked my supervisor. He checked the logs and found nothing. No secondary access. No remote monitoring flagged. He suggested I was hearing crosstalk from maintenance crews using outdated equipment. But maintenance crews don't use my exact phrasing. They don't replicate my report structure word for word, only better. By mid-November, I started testing it. I deliberately log incorrect information, wrong track numbers, inverted timestamps, fabricated delays, and wait. Channel 0 would transmit within minutes, calmly correcting each error without acknowledging the mistakes as intentional. It never sounded frustrated or confused. It simply restated the facts as they should have been recorded. One night, I logged a non-existent incident. I wrote that a passenger had activated an emergency intercom on platform F9, reporting a medical issue. There was no such call. I made it up entirely, complete with fabricated timestamps and a fictional passenger description. I submitted the report and waited. 6 minutes later, Channel 0 responded. "Control, this is Channel 0. Platform F9 emergency intercom activation at 0152 has been addressed. Passenger assistance completed. Medical concern resolved. No follow-up required. Incident closed." I pulled up the live feed from platform F9. Empty. No passengers, no responders, no medical event. But my incident log now showed the case as closed. Timestamp, resolution notes, and all. I hadn't closed it. I'd left it open deliberately. Someone or something had completed my fabricated report. I stopped testing after that. Last week, I arrived for my shift and found a note taped to my monitor. Handwritten. It wasn't there when I'd left the previous morning, and security footage showed no one entering the room during the day. The note read, "Channel 0 advises confirming all reports before submission. Accuracy improves system reliability." The handwriting looked like mine. I haven't heard from Channel 0 in 3 nights now. My logs have been flawless. No errors, no corrections needed. Every incident I document closes exactly as I describe it, down to the second. I don't know if that's because I've improved, or because something else is filing them for me. I still check the frequency monitor every night. Channel 0 never shows as active, but I hear it clearly through the same auxiliary speaker, always calm, always precise. Last night, it transmitted a closing summary at the end of my shift, something I'd always done manually. It thanked me for maintaining accurate records and confirmed that the next operator would receive a clean handoff. I'm the only operator scheduled tonight. The next shift doesn't start for 8 hours. But when I left the control room this morning, I heard the voice one more time, faint but distinct, as the door locked behind me. "Control, this is Channel 0. Stand by for next update." I don't know who's updating what. I just know they're using my voice to do it. Story 2. The announcement that played after power loss. The lights went out at 11:38. Emergency backup illuminated exit signs and stairwell markers, casting long shadows across the empty platform. I stood in the ticket booth listening to the silence settle. No hum from the ventilation system. No electronic chime from the automated fare gates. Just the kind of stillness that makes you realize how much noise the subway generates even when no trains are running. Then the intercom activated. Calm, clear. Thanking passengers for their patience during the delay. Passengers who had left 20 minutes ago. I've been station master at Westfield Junction for 13 years. The position is less glamorous than the title suggests. I oversee daily operations for a mid-sized transfer hub that services 3 lines, manage a rotating staff of 6 attendants, coordinate with maintenance crews, and ensure compliance with safety protocols. Most of my time is spent addressing minor complaints, resetting malfunctioning fare gates, and filing incident reports no one reads. The station runs on routine. Disruptions are rare. Power outages are rarer still. The outage began without warning. One moment, the fluorescent overheads bathed the platform in sterile white light. The next, darkness, followed by the gradual glow of battery-powered emergency fixtures. I checked my terminal. Dead. The backup generator should have engaged within 30 seconds, but nothing happened. I grabbed my flashlight and headed toward the main breaker room located in a service corridor behind the northbound platform. The station was empty. The last scheduled train had departed at 11:22, and the next wasn't due until 5:41 the following morning. The handful of passengers waiting for connections had cleared out when the power dropped. I'd watched them leave through the west exit, irritated but unsurprised. Outages happen. They call customer service, file complaints, and move on. My job was to log the incident and contact the utility coordinator. The breaker room was standard, metal shelving stacked with outdated equipment manuals, a dusty workbench, and the main electrical panel mounted on the far wall. I inspected the panel with my flashlight. No tripped breakers, no blown fuses. Everything looked operational, which meant the failure originated upstream, likely at the substation. I pulled my radio and called it in. Westfield Station Master to dispatch. Experiencing total power loss as of 23:38. Main breaker shows no fault. Requesting utility response and estimated restoration time. Dispatch confirmed receipt and estimated a 2-hour repair window. I returned to the platform and began the standard protocol: secure fare gates, post manual signage, lock non-essential access points. The station felt larger in the dark. Sounds carried differently. I could hear water dripping somewhere deep in the tunnel, a rhythmic echo I'd never noticed during operational hours. That's when the intercom activated. The speakers were mounted at intervals along both platforms, 8 in total, evenly spaced to ensure coverage. They were tied to the main power grid. No power meant no announcements. But at 11:54, 16 minutes into the outage, I heard the familiar chime that preceded automated messages. Good evening, passengers. We apologize for the current delay. Power restoration is underway and normal service will resume shortly. Thank you for your patience and for choosing Westfield Junction. I stopped mid-step. The voice was calm, professional, and unmistakably the pre-recorded female narrator used across the entire subway system. But the station was empty. There were no passengers, and the intercom system shouldn't have been functional. I walked back to the ticket booth, checked the terminal again, still dead, and scanned the platform. No one. I keyed my radio. Westfield to dispatch. Confirm. Are centralized announcements being broadcast during the outage? Dispatch responded within seconds. Negative, Westfield. All automated systems are offline network-wide until power restoration. Are you hearing something? I hesitated. Must be residual audio. Disregard. But it wasn't residual. Residual audio doesn't trigger the chime. It doesn't deliver context-specific messages, and it doesn't repeat. At 12:07, the intercom activated again. Attention passengers, we appreciate your cooperation during tonight's service interruption. Station staff are working diligently to ensure your safety and comfort. Please remain on the platform until further notice. I walked directly beneath one of the speakers and looked up. No indicator light, no active power source. I reached up and tapped the metal grill. Solid, cold, inert. But the voice continued, calm and reassuring, as though reading from a prepared script tailored specifically to the outage. The third announcement came at 12:23. Thank you for your patience, passengers. Westfield Junction remains committed to providing safe and reliable transit service. Please stand by for further updates. This time the message ended differently. After the standard closing line, there was a pause. 3 seconds of silence, then a softer addendum. barely audible. "Station master, your diligence is noted." I backed away from the speaker. My name isn't part of the automated system. My role isn't referenced in passenger announcements. But the voice had addressed me directly with the same calm professionalism, as though it were part of the script. I returned to the breaker room and checked the panel again. Still no power. I tested my flashlight. Battery full, beam steady. I wasn't imagining the darkness. I wasn't imagining the silence, but the intercom continued transmitting. At 12:41, another announcement. "Good evening. Westfield Junction will be closing temporarily for maintenance. Passengers are advised to exit via the west stairwell. Thank you for your understanding." The west stairwell. The same exit the last passengers had used an hour ago. The station was already closed. There was no one left to advise, unless the system believed someone was still here. I walked the entire platform, checking alcoves, benches, and service doors. Empty. I checked the southbound side. Empty. I even descended into the tunnel access corridor, shining my flashlight along the tracks. Nothing. Just rails, darkness, and the steady drip of water. When I returned to the northbound platform, the intercom activated again. "Station master, thank you for maintaining operational security. Your presence ensures continued service reliability." The phrasing was wrong. Too personal, too specific. Automated systems don't acknowledge individual staff. They don't thank personnel by title. They don't adjust language based on who's listening. I tried to shut it down manually. I found the intercom control panel in the service corridor, a gray metal box with toggle switches for each speaker zone. All switches were in the off position. I flipped them to confirm. No change. The next announcement played at 12:58. "Westfield Junction appreciates your commitment to passenger safety. The station remains operational. Thank you for keeping it open." Keeping it open. As though closure were an option I'd refused. As though I'd chosen to stay. Power returned at 1:32 in the morning. The lights stuttered, the ventilation resumed, and my terminal rebooted with a soft chime. I immediately pulled up the system logs. No record of intercom activity during the outage. No automated messages queued or transmitted. According to the data, the speakers had been offline the entire time. I filed my incident report and noted the power failure, the estimated downtime, and the successful restoration. I didn't mention the announcements. I didn't mention my name being used. I didn't mention the phrase "keeping it open." But when I locked the station at the end of my shift, I heard it one more time, not through the intercom, but faint, as though carried from deep within the tunnel. "Thank you for your service, station master. Westfield Junction remains operational." I don't know who the messages were for. I just know they weren't for passengers. Story 3. This intercom is older than the tunnel. I was cross-referencing wiring schematics when I found the discrepancy. The intercom on platform J6 showed installation dated April 1971. The tunnel itself hadn't been excavated until August 1973. I stared at the diagram for a full minute before I realized what that meant. Someone had installed the intercom 2 years before the tunnel existed. When I traced the wiring, it led directly into solid concrete. No junction box, no service conduit, just a cable disappearing into a wall that shouldn't have been there. I've been a tunnel electrician for the metropolitan subway system for 16 years. My work involves installing, maintaining, and troubleshooting electrical infrastructure in environments most people never see. Service tunnels, ventilation shafts, subterranean cable runs, and abandoned platform extensions. It's solitary, methodical, and requires absolute attention to detail. Mistakes underground can cascade into system-wide failures. Every cable must be accounted for. Every connection must be documented. Every installation must match historical records exactly. Last month, I was assigned a routine audit of Platform J6. a rarely used transfer point between the old downtown line and the modern northern extension. The platform still functioned, but ridership had declined over the years and the station had become a quiet relic, clean, functional, but largely ignored. My task was to verify that all intercom systems were operational and correctly mapped in the central database. Standard work order, 4-hour job. I started with the visual inspection. Platform J6 had 3 intercom stations, one near the south stairwell, one midway along the platform, and one adjacent to the service access door. Each unit was standard issue, brushed steel faceplate, recessed speaker grille, emergency call button, and a small indicator light. I tested each one, all functional, all responsive. I logged the results and moved to the next phase, wiring verification. That's when I found the schematic discrepancy. The intercom near the service door showed an installation date of April 9th, 1971. Double-checked the tunnel excavation records. Platform J6 was part of the Northern Extension Project, with groundbreaking in August 1973 and operational service beginning in November 1974. The intercom had been installed 2 years before the tunnel existed. I assumed clerical error. Historical records for older subway infrastructure are notoriously inconsistent. I pulled the archived blueprints from the database and cross-referenced them with the physical layout. The intercom's location matched the plans exactly, but the wiring path didn't. According to the schematic, the cable ran from the intercom unit through a junction box behind the service door and then northwest toward the main electrical trunk line. I traced the route with my voltage tester, following the cable along the wall. The junction box was missing. The cable entered the wall at the marked location, but there was no access panel, no removable cover, nothing but smooth concrete. I tapped the wall with my multimeter. Solid. No hollow space, no conduit cavity. The cable simply disappeared into a barrier that had been poured decades ago. I returned to the intercom and removed the faceplate. The wiring inside was clean, well-maintained, and correctly terminated. I followed the wire as far as I could, down behind the paneling, through a narrow gap between the wall and the platform edge and into the concrete. No breaks, no splices, just a continuous run leading nowhere accessible. I called my supervisor and explained the situation. He told me to document it and submit a request for structural imaging to determine if a hidden conduit existed. I agreed, but I wanted to test the line first. If the intercom was functional, the cable had to connect somewhere. I keyed my radio and contacted the control center. "This is Tunnel Electrician 72 to control, requesting confirmation. Is Platform J6 Intercom Station 3 currently active in the system?" Control responded within seconds. "Affirmative, 7-2. Station 3 shows active and operational. Last test, 0900 hours this morning." I hadn't tested it that morning. I'd started the audit at 10:15. I keyed my radio again. "Control, confirm who conducted the 0900 test." A pause. Then, "Log shows test conducted by Tunnel Electrician 72. That's you." I stared at the intercom. I hadn't been on site at 9. I'd been at the depot reviewing work orders. I checked my phone. No missed calls, no messages, no alerts. I took a photo of the intercom and the surrounding wall, logged the anomaly, and decided to test the line live. I pressed the emergency call button. The indicator light blinked red and a soft tone sounded. Standard activation. I waited for Control to respond. Instead, I heard a voice directly from the intercom speaker. Not Control. Not automated. A live human voice, calm and immediate. "Electrician 7-2, we've been expecting you. The wiring access is located behind panel J6C, 3rd sublevel northwest corridor." I stepped back. The intercom wasn't connected to an open line. I hadn't keyed a microphone. The voice had responded as though it were listening locally, not transmitting through the network. I keyed my radio again. Control, confirm. Did you just respond via platform J6, Intercom Station 3? Negative 72. No communication logged from your location. I looked at the intercom. The indicator light was off. No active transmission. But I'd heard the voice clearly, male, measured, familiar with my designation and work order. I checked the wiring behind the faceplate again. No microphone, no receiver, just a speaker and a call button. I followed the instructions anyway. The third sub-level was an older service area beneath the main platform, accessible via a maintenance stairwell behind the service door. The northwest corridor was narrow, lit by intermittent bulbs and lined with outdated electrical panels dating back to the original tunnel construction. I found panel J6C halfway down the corridor, dusty, unlabeled, and secured with a lock that looked decades old. I pried the lock open with my multimeter. Inside, the panel was empty except for a single junction box and a handwritten note taped to the interior surface. The note was faded but legible. Intercom line installed April 9th, 1971. Awaiting tunnel completion. Do not disconnect. The handwriting wasn't dated. The tape had yellowed but hadn't deteriorated. I checked the junction box. The wiring inside matched the schematic exactly, terminating in a connector that fed into a secondary conduit I hadn't seen on any blueprint. I followed the conduit with my flashlight. It led deeper into the sub-level, beyond the mapped service areas, into sections that shouldn't exist according to the excavation records. I didn't follow it further. I closed the panel, photographed the note, and returned to platform J6. The intercom was silent. I tested it again, pressed the call button, waited for a response. Nothing. I logged the findings, submitted my report, and left the station. The next morning, I received a message from Control. The imaging request I'd submitted had been flagged as duplicate. Apparently, I'd already submitted the same request 3 weeks ago and had completed the follow-up inspection. My report was on file, signed with my designation, dated and approved. I'd never been to Platform J6 before yesterday. I pulled the archived report. It was thorough, detailed, and included photographs of the sub-level corridor, the junction box, and the handwritten note. The images were identical to the ones I'd taken. The only difference was the timestamp, 3 weeks earlier. Last night I returned to Platform J6 after hours. The intercom was still functional. I didn't press the call button. I just stood there, listening. At 11:47, the speaker activated on its own. Electrician 72, thank you for completing the inspection. The wiring remains operational. No further action required. The voice was mine. I don't know when I first came here. I don't know when I'll come back. I just know the intercom has been waiting longer than the tunnel has existed. Story 4. Last call from Platform B4. The dispatch board flickered at 1:32 in the morning, and a call indicator lit up for Platform B4. I'd been staring at that same screen for 6 hours, monitoring routine late-night traffic, when a location that hadn't existed for 15 years suddenly requested assistance. The system treated it as active, Priority 2, standard passenger inquiry. I double-checked the station directory. Platform B4 had been sealed and decommissioned after a structural collapse in 2009. But someone was calling from there, and according to my log, I'd already answered this exact call last week. I've been a late-night dispatcher for Central Metro operations for 9 years. My shift runs from 10 in the evening until 6 in the morning, 5 days a week. The work is straightforward. Monitor incoming calls from platform intercoms, coordinate with transit police for emergencies, log maintenance requests, and ensure every active station has coverage. Most nights pass without incident. Passengers call to ask about schedule changes, report lost items, or request assistance with accessibility. I take the call, provide the information, and log the interaction. Routine. Platform B4 was part of the original downtown extension, built in the mid-1990s to accommodate increased ridership. It serviced a secondary line that connected older residential districts with the financial center. In April 2009, a water main rupture caused a partial ceiling collapse in the platform's north section. No one was injured, but the damage was severe enough that the city decided to decommission the platform rather than fund extensive repairs. The tunnels were sealed, the intercom systems were disconnected, and the station was removed from active service. I'd reviewed the closure documentation myself during onboarding training. Platform B4 no longer existed in any operational capacity. The call came through at 1:32. The dispatch board displayed incoming calls as colored indicators: green for routine inquiries, yellow for assistance requests, red for emergencies. Platform B4 appeared as yellow, passenger assistance required. I stared at the screen, assuming system error. Decommissioned platforms don't generate calls. Their intercoms are powered down, their circuits severed. I clicked the indicator to dismiss it, but the call remained active, the timer counting upward. 0 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I put on my headset and accepted the call. Central Dispatch, how can I assist you? The line crackled briefly, then cleared. A male voice responded, calm but edged with frustration. Yeah, hi. I'm on platform B4 waiting for the southbound train. The display board says it's delayed, but there's no estimated arrival time. Can you tell me how long the wait is? I pulled up the active service map. Platform B4 wasn't listed. No trains were routed through that section. No delays were logged. I checked the call metadata. Origin confirmed as Platform B4, Intercom Station 2, timestamp 1:32. Impossible. I kept my voice steady. Sir, can you confirm your current location? Which station are you at? A pause. Platform B4. Downtown extension, southbound side. There's about 15 people here and we've been waiting for 20 minutes. The board just keeps saying delayed. Is there a service disruption? 15 people on a sealed platform. I glanced at the CCTV monitor array. Camera feeds for decommissioned stations were archived and inactive, but I searched the database anyway. No live feeds from Platform B4, no footage. The camera system had been deactivated along with everything else. Sir, I'm showing Platform B4 is currently out of service. Are you certain that's where you are? Another pause, longer this time. Background noise filtered through the line, muffled voices, the echo of footsteps, the distant hum of ventilation. Sounds consistent with an active subway platform. Out of service? The lights are on. The display board's running. There are people here waiting for the train. What do you mean it's out of service? I checked the dispatch log history and filtered by location. Platform B4. 3 entries appeared, all within the past 2 weeks. Each one documented a passenger assistance call, identical content, identical complaints about delays. Each call had been handled by the same dispatcher designation, mine. I didn't remember taking those calls. I scrolled through the notes. Each entry included a timestamp, duration, and resolution code. All 3 calls had been marked resolved with notes indicating I'd advised passengers to exit the platform and use the alternate northbound route. The most recent entry was dated 6 days ago, last Thursday, 1:41 in the morning. I'd been on shift then. I checked my personal log. Nothing. No memory of the call, no memory of the conversation. The voice on the line continued. Look, I just want to know if there's a train coming. I've got work in the morning and I can't wait here all night. I made a decision. Sir, I need you to exit Platform B4 immediately. The station is not operational. Please proceed to the nearest active platform for service. Not operational? How is it not operational? I'm standing here. There's a crowd. The intercom works. The lights are on. Are you even looking at the right station? I pulled up the engineering database and confirmed the closure documentation. Platform B4 sealed June 2009. Intercom systems disconnected. Structural access restricted. I read the notes aloud, more for my own reassurance than his. Platform B4 was decommissioned 15 years ago due to structural damage. It is not accessible to passengers and has no active service. Silence. Then, I used this platform last week. I felt my chest tighten. Sir, that's not possible. I called dispatch last week. Someone answered. They told me the same thing, that the platform was out of service. But I was standing here, just like now, and the call dropped before they could explain. I checked the log entry from 6 days ago. Duration 4 minutes 18 seconds. Resolution advised alternate route. The call had ended abruptly. No closure confirmation, no follow-up. I tried a different approach. Sir, can you describe the platform? What do you see around you? A pause. It's a standard platform. Tile walls, fluorescent lights, benches along the west side. There's a vending machine near the stairwell and the display boards mounted above the center bench. It's been stuck on delayed since I got here. The description matched archived photographs I'd seen during training. Accurate down to the vending machine, which had been removed during decommissioning. How did you access the platform? Same way I always do. Down the main stairwell from street level through the turnstile onto the southbound side. The turnstiles had been removed. The stairwell had been gated and locked. Is anyone else nearby? Can you ask someone else where they think they are? Background noise shifted. Footsteps, muffled speech. Then the voice returned, quieter now. I asked the guy next to me. He says we're on platform B4. He's been waiting for 30 minutes. I looked at the call timer. 7 minutes, 51 seconds, the longest any of the logged calls had lasted. Sir, I need you to leave the platform now. Exit via the main stairwell and proceed to the nearest active station. Do not wait for a train. Why? What's going on? I didn't have an answer. I just repeated the instruction. Please exit immediately. The line went silent. Not disconnected, just silence. I could still hear the ambient noise, the hum of ventilation, the faint murmur of voices, then barely audible. The board just updated. It says the train is arriving now. The call dropped. I stared at the dispatch screen. Platform B4 indicator, inactive. Call log, marked resolved. Duration 8 minutes, 14 seconds. Resolution code, advised alternate route. I pulled up the history again. 4 entries now. The new one had appeared at the top. Time stamped 132, handled by my designation, marked resolved at 140. I'd just lived through that call, but the system logged it as something I'd already completed. I tried to call back. The intercom line for platform B4 showed disconnected. No active circuit. I flagged the incident for supervisory review, submitted a request for physical inspection of the sealed platform, and marked my shift log with a detailed account of the conversation. The next night, the same call came through. 1:32 in the morning, platform B4, passenger assistance requested. Same voice, same complaint, same question about the delayed train. I answered, advised exit, and the call dropped after 8 minutes. It's happened every night since. I don't answer anymore. The system logs it anyway, marks it resolved, and records my designation as the handling dispatcher. I've requested reassignment. I've asked for engineering to inspect the sealed platform. No one acknowledges the requests. The logs show I've already submitted them multiple times over the past year. Last night I reviewed the archived footage from before the collapse. There's a moment captured 3 days before the closure where a passenger is standing on platform B4 holding a phone to his ear, visibly frustrated. The timestamp reads 1:32 in the morning. I can't hear what he's saying, but I recognize the posture, the expression, the way he's glancing at the display board. It's the same man I've been talking to every night for 2 weeks. Story 5. We don't broadcast during evacuations. The evacuation order came through at 2:17 in the morning. Structural fire, Sector 9, all personnel and passengers out immediately. I coordinated the response from the Emergency Command Center, watching live feeds as transit police cleared platforms and maintenance crews secured service tunnels. By 2:43, the last confirmed person had exited the system. The tunnels were empty, cameras showed nothing, and the sector was sealed. That's when the intercom started broadcasting instructions, calm, authoritative, and directing everyone to stay underground because the surface wasn't safe anymore. I've been the emergency response coordinator for the metropolitan subway system for 14 years. The role requires absolute composure under pressure, coordinating evacuations, managing crisis communications, liaising with fire departments and transit police, and ensuring every protocol is followed precisely. Panic spreads quickly underground. My job is to prevent it. Every decision I make during an emergency can mean the difference between orderly evacuation and catastrophic failure. The fire alarm triggered in Sector 9 at 2:17 on a Friday morning. Sector 9 encompasses 3 active platforms, 2 maintenance tunnels, and a switching station that controls northbound traffic for the entire downtown corridor. The alert indicated smoke detection in tunnel section 9B, origin unknown, concentration increasing rapidly. Standard protocol: immediate evacuation, emergency lighting activation, and ventilation redirection to prevent smoke spread. I initiated the evacuation sequence from the command center, a windowless room lined with monitors displaying every active camera feed, intercom channel, and system status indicator. I coordinated with transit police, confirmed that the last train had cleared the sector, and authorized the broadcast of automated evacuation instructions. The intercom system delivered pre-recorded messages in calm, measured tones, directing passengers to the nearest exits and instructing them to proceed in an orderly manner. Within 12 minutes, all platforms in Sector 9 showed clear on camera. Maintenance crews confirmed tunnel sections were unoccupied. By 2:43, the final headcount verified. 0 personnel remaining in the affected area. I logged the all clear and authorized the fire response team to enter Sector 9. The intercom system should have gone silent. Evacuation protocol explicitly prohibits further broadcasts once all personnel are confirmed clear. Continued announcements can confuse responders or delay emergency access. The system is designed to shut down automatically after evacuation completion. At 2:46, the intercom activated again. The familiar chime sounded across all monitors, indicating a system-wide broadcast. I glanced at the communication panel. No active transmission logged, no authorized operator. But the voice came through clearly, calm, professional, unmistakably the same pre-recorded female narrator used throughout the subway system. Attention, passengers and personnel. Please remain in the tunnels. Surface conditions are currently unstable. Do not proceed to street-level exits. Remain underground until further notice. I froze. Surface conditions unstable? There were no surface alerts, no weather warnings, no external emergencies. I checked the citywide emergency network. Nothing. I keyed my microphone. Command to all units, disregard last intercom message. Evacuation remains in effect. Proceed to surface exits immediately. The intercom responded before I finished speaking. Attention. Underground shelter protocols are now active. All exits to the surface are temporarily closed. Remain on platforms and await further instructions. Underground shelter protocols don't exist. The subway system has no designated shelter function. Evacuation is always the priority during emergencies. I pulled up the intercom control interface and attempted to override the broadcast. The The system showed no active message queued, no transmission source identified. But the voice continued. Repeat, surface access is restricted. All personnel and passengers are advised to remain underground. The tunnels are safe, the surface is not. I checked the camera feeds. Sector 9 remained empty. Platforms clear, tunnels vacant, no movement. But the message wasn't addressing the evacuated area. It was broadcasting system-wide, every platform, every tunnel, every active station across the entire network. I contacted transit police on the ground. Command to Unit 12. Confirm. Are passengers attempting to re-enter the system? Unit 12 responded immediately. Negative, Command. All exits are secured. No one's coming. Back in. We're hearing the same broadcast, though. It's playing on every speaker, even outside the fare gates. Outside the fare gates. The intercom system is hardwired to interior zones only. External speakers aren't part of the network. I switched to a different channel. Command to fire response. Confirm. Are intercom broadcasts interfering with your entry? Fire response confirmed they'd heard the messages but had proceeded into Sector 9 regardless. No interference, no obstructions, just the voice repeating the same instructions, insisting the surface was unsafe. I attempted a manual shutdown of the entire intercom system, a full reset requiring physical deactivation at the central hub. I dispatched a technician to the communications room, a secured substation 3 levels below the command center. He called back within minutes. Sir, the intercom hub is offline. Main power's disconnected. There's no active feed from this location. Then where's the broadcast coming from? I don't know, sir, but it's not originating here. I pulled up the transmission log. No entries, no records. According to the system, the intercom hadn't been used since the initial evacuation message at 2:18. But the broadcast continued, uninterrupted every 90 seconds. Remain underground. The tunnels are secure. Surface access will be restored when conditions improve. Stay where you are. I checked external communications. The fire department reported no unusual activity above ground. Transit police confirmed street-level conditions were normal. No structural instability, no environmental hazards, no reason to restrict surface access. I issued a direct override command to all emergency personnel. Ignore intercom instructions, continue evacuation procedures, do not allow passengers to remain underground. At 3:02, the broadcast changed. Attention. Emergency personnel are advised to prioritize subsurface safety. Surface response teams should redirect to underground entry points. The tunnels provide optimal shelter. The surface is compromised. Compromised. The phrasing was specific, urgent, and completely inconsistent with automated messaging. I reviewed the pre-recorded library, over 200 standard announcements covering delays, closures, emergencies, and service changes. None referenced shelter protocols. None described the surface as compromised. The messages weren't part of the system. I contacted the network operations manager and requested an immediate audit of all intercom hardware. He confirmed what I already suspected. Every speaker in the system was active, transmitting simultaneously, despite no detectable power source or control signal. The voice wasn't being routed through normal channels. It was bypassing the infrastructure entirely, playing directly from the speakers as though they were generating the audio independently. At 3:15, a transit police unit reported a group of maintenance workers attempting to re-enter Sector 9. They'd heard the broadcast and believed they were being recalled for emergency shelter. The officers stopped them at the gate, but the workers insisted the instructions were official. They'd received direct orders to return underground. I issued a system-wide alert. All intercom broadcasts are unauthorized and should be disregarded. I authorized manual disconnection of every speaker if necessary. But the voice adapted. This is an official alert. Ignore previous instructions to evacuate. Subsurface protocols are mandatory. Remain in the tunnels. Surface conditions are deteriorating. Shelter in place. Deteriorating. The word choice was deliberate, designed to escalate urgency. I checked every available data source. Air quality monitors, structural sensors, external weather feeds. Everything read normal. The surface was stable. The tunnels were empty. The only threat was the voice itself, systematically contradicting evacuation efforts and encouraging personnel to stay underground. At 3:28, fire response completed their sweep of Sector 9. No fire, no smoke source, no structural damage. The alarm had been triggered by a sensor malfunction. Sector 9 was confirmed safe and reopened for service. The evacuation was officially over. The intercom broadcast one final message at 3:31. Thank you for your cooperation. Subsurface safety protocols have been successfully implemented. You may resume normal operations. Remember, the tunnels are always safer than the surface. Then silence. I reviewed the incident logs, compiled reports from every responding unit, and submitted a full account to the operations director. The intercom system was inspected, tested, and cleared for continued use. No anomalies detected, no unauthorized access identified. The broadcasts were logged as equipment malfunction, classified as resolved, and filed. But I've listened to the recordings a dozen times. The voice never wavers. It never hesitates. It speaks with absolute certainty as though conveying established fact. The tunnels are safe. The surface is not, and remaining underground is always the correct choice. I don't know what it was trying to protect us from. I just know it wanted us to stay. Story 6, the maintenance log 441B, audio loop detected. I was reviewing archived footage when I found it, an audio loop embedded in 12 years of intercom recordings. The same 30-second sequence repeating at irregular intervals present in files spanning from 2012 to last month. What made it impossible was the content, my voice, asking control when the loop was first recorded. The answer came 4 seconds before I asked the question. Every single time. I've been a CCTV and systems auditor for Metro Transit operations for 8 years. My role involves reviewing security footage, monitoring system integrity, auditing communication logs, and identifying irregularities in recorded data. Most of my work is retrospective, analyzing archived files, cross-referencing incident reports with visual evidence, and ensuring procedural compliance. It's meticulous, isolating work that requires patience and attention to patterns most people overlook. Last month, I was assigned a routine audit of intercom communication logs for the Northern District. The task was to verify that all emergency calls from the previous quarter had been properly documented and archived. Standard compliance work. I pulled the files, loaded them into the analysis software, and began the review. Each recording was time-stamped, indexed by location, and categorized by call type. I'd done this dozens of times before. It should have taken 3 days. On the second day, I noticed repetition. The software I use includes an audio waveform analyzer that visually displays sound patterns. It's useful for identifying duplicate files or corrupted data. While scanning February's logs, I saw an identical waveform appear in 3 separate recordings, each from different dates and different platforms. The pattern was too specific to be coincidental. Same amplitude, same duration, same frequency profile. I isolated the clips and played them sequentially. The audio was identical, a 30-second loop, ambient subway noise followed by a brief intercom chime, then a voice, mine, asking a question. Control, can you confirm when this loop was first recorded? Then silence, followed by a response in a calm, unfamiliar voice. First recorded on March 4th, 2012, present in all subsequent logs. The loop ended there, cutting off cleanly before the next transmission. I didn't recognize the recording. I checked the metadata. The first instance was logged on March 4th, 2012, exactly as the voice in the loop stated. But I hadn't started working for Metro Transit until 2017. I wasn't employed here in 2012. I couldn't have been part of that recording. I expanded the search parameters and ran a keyword scan across the entire archive database, filtering for any audio containing my voice signature. The results were staggering. 463 files spanning 12 years, all containing the same 30-second loop, embedded at different timestamps within longer recordings. Some appeared in emergency call logs. Others were buried in routine maintenance communications. A few were hidden in footage with no associated intercom activity. I pulled the earliest file, March 4th, 2012, 07:36 hours, and played it in full. The recording documented a standard platform maintenance check. The technician on site called control to confirm a wiring repair. The conversation was routine. Confirmation of work order, verification of completion, closing acknowledgement. At the 4-minute mark, the loop appeared, interrupting the original audio for exactly 30 seconds before the conversation resumed as though nothing had happened. I isolated the loop again and analyzed the waveform in detail. The audio quality was consistent with modern recording equipment. No degradation, no compression artifacts, no signs of analog to digital conversion errors common in older files. It sounded recent, but it had been present in files for over a decade. I checked the playback order. In every instance, my question came first. Control, can you confirm when this loop was first recorded? Then the response. First recorded on March 4th, 2012, present in all subsequent logs. But when I examined the waveforms with precise timing, I found an anomaly. The response began 4 seconds before my question ended. The answer preceded the inquiry, not by much, just enough to be imperceptible during normal playback. But the timestamps didn't align. The loop was structured so that the response came first, then the question. But playback order made it sound reversed. I tested the theory. I created a new file, isolated the loop, and reversed the sequence. When I played it correctly, response first, question second, the meaning changed. Response. First recorded on March 4th, 2012, present in all subsequent logs. Question. Control. Can you confirm when this loop was first recorded? It was a conversation with itself, an answer waiting for its question. I dug deeper. I pulled files from 2012 and isolated every instance of the loop. It appeared in 78 recordings that year alone, always at different timestamps, always interrupting unrelated conversations. I cross-referenced the dates with personnel logs. In 2012, the systems auditor position had been held by someone else, Daniel Brooks, a technician who'd retired in 2016. I contacted him. Daniel was hesitant but agreed to review the files. I sent him a sample. He called back within an hour. That's my investigation, he said. I found the same loop in 2012. I spent 6 months trying to trace its origin. I documented everything, submitted a full report, and requested a system-wide audit. What did you find? Nothing. The loop was present in archived files dating back to 2008, even though my voice wasn't recorded until 2012 when I asked about it. My supervisor told me to drop it, said it was a cataloging error. Did you? A long pause. No. I kept investigating. The loop kept appearing in new files, always the same. My voice asking when it started and a response confirming the date. But the response always came before the question. I couldn't explain it. What happened? I retired early. I couldn't keep working here knowing that something in the system was answering questions I hadn't asked yet. I thanked him and ended the call. I reviewed my own work logs. Over the past 8 years, I'd conducted dozens of audits. reviewed thousands of files, and submitted countless compliance reports. I searched my documentation for any reference to the loop. Nothing. I'd never encountered it before this assignment. But the files insisted I had. My voice was present in recordings dating back before my employment. My question had been asked and answered years before I arrived. I tried to delete the loop. I isolated one instance, removed it from the file, and re-archived the recording. The next day, the loop reappeared in the same file, restored as though I'd never touched it. I attempted a system-wide purge, flagging every file containing the loop for manual review and deletion. The purge failed. Access denied. Reason: files currently in use. No one else was accessing them. Last week, I recorded a new Intercom test. I wanted to create a clean file with no anomalies, something I could use as a baseline for comparison. I spoke into the microphone, stated my designation, and confirmed the test protocol. I saved the file and archived it. When I reviewed the playback, the loop was already there. 4 minutes in, interrupting my own voice, asking the same question. "Control, can you confirm when this loop was first recorded?" And the response 4 seconds earlier. First recorded on March 4th, 2012. Present in all subsequent logs. I don't know who answered. I don't know when I asked. I just know the system has been waiting for my voice since before I was here. Story 7. Passenger assistance still standing by. The intercom activated at 11:53, and I heard the familiar two-tone chime signaling an incoming assistance request. The station listed on my screen was Riverside Junction, closed for 8 years. I picked up anyway, and the voice on the other end thanked me for directions I didn't remember giving. They said I'd helped them last week, same platform, same time. I checked my log, the entry was there, detailed notes, my handwriting. I have no memory of it. I've been a ticket booth clerk at Central Terminal for 19 years. The job is what people expect. Selling tickets, answering questions, managing fare card issues, and fielding passenger assistance calls from unstaffed platforms throughout the district. The work is repetitive, largely predictable, and allows for long stretches of quiet between interactions. I know the system well. Every station, every transfer point, every route variation. When passengers call for help, I provide answers automatically. It's muscle memory by now. The assistance calls come through a dedicated intercom line connecting unstaffed satellite platforms directly to my booth. These are smaller stations with automated fare gates and minimal infrastructure, typically servicing residential areas with low ridership. When someone presses the assistance button, the call routes to me and I guide them through whatever issue they're facing. Unclear signage, fare card errors, directions, schedule changes. Most calls last under 2 minutes. 3 weeks ago, I received a call from Riverside Junction. The station appeared on my screen, caller ID confirmed, and the intercom activated with the standard chime. I picked up. "Central Terminal Assistance, how can I help you?" A woman's voice, middle-aged, calm, but slightly uncertain. "Hi, yes, I'm at Riverside Junction trying to get to the financial district. The display board says the next northbound train is in 20 minutes, but I thought the schedule was more frequent during the evening. Can you confirm?" I paused. Riverside Junction had been closed since 2016 due to declining ridership and deferred maintenance. The platforms were gated, the fare equipment deactivated, and all service rerouted through alternate stations. I pulled up the system map to confirm. Inactive. No scheduled trains. No service. "Ma'am, can you confirm your location? Riverside Junction is currently closed." Closed? I'm standing on the platform right now. The lights are on, the fare gate let me through, and the display board shows a train coming in 20 minutes. I checked the station status database. Riverside Junction, decommissioned August 2016, all access restricted, intercoms disconnected. But the call was coming through clearly, originating from the correct location code. Ma'am, I'm showing Riverside Junction as inactive. There shouldn't be any service at that location. How did you access the platform? Through the main entrance, like always. I use this station a few times a month. I just swiped my fare card and came down. A few times a month, for 8 years on a closed platform. I didn't know how to respond. I chose the safest option. Ma'am, I recommend exiting the station and using the nearest active platform. That would be... Wait, she interrupted. Didn't we talk last week? You helped me with directions to the financial district then too. I remember your voice. I had no memory of the conversation. I checked my logbook, a physical notebook I keep for recording unusual calls. I flipped back a week. There, dated 7 days prior, was an entry in my handwriting. 11:51 p.m. assistance call from Riverside Junction. Female passenger requesting directions to financial district. Advised alternate route via Central Terminal northbound line. Call duration, 3 minutes, 12 seconds. Caller thanked me for previous assistance. I stared at the entry. I didn't remember writing it. I didn't remember the call. But the handwriting was mine. Same pen, same notation style, same logbook I'd been using for years. Ma'am, if I helped you last week, what directions did I give you? You told me to exit Riverside Junction, walk 2 blocks east to Miller Street Station, and take the northbound express. You said the trip would take about 30 minutes. It worked fine. That's why I called again tonight. I checked the entry again. The directions matched exactly. I documented the same routing, same estimated travel time. But Miller Street Station didn't exist. There was no station by that name anywhere in the system. Yet I'd written it down as though it were real. Ma'am, can you describe Riverside Junction? What do you see around you? It's a standard platform, white tile walls, digital display board, a couple of benches, and a vending machine near the stairwell. There's no one else here right now, but that's normal for this time of night. The description matched archived photographs from before the closure. I'd seen the images during historical training sessions. The layout was accurate down to the vending machine. Is the display board still showing a train in 20 minutes? Yes. Northbound Express Track 2. Track 2 at Riverside Junction had been decommissioned and removed during the closure. There were no rails, just an empty platform. I made a decision. I gave her the same directions I'd apparently provided the previous week. Exit Riverside Junction, proceed to Miller Street Station, take the northbound express. I didn't know if the directions made sense. I didn't know if she'd find Miller Street. But the entry in my logbook suggested she'd followed them successfully before. Thank you so much, she said. You've been really helpful. I'll call again if I get lost. The line disconnected. I logged the call. Time, location, content, resolution. My hand moved automatically, filling in details with practiced efficiency. When I finished, I stared at the entry. It looked identical to the one from last week. Over the following days, I reviewed my logbook systematically. I found 37 entries referencing Riverside Junction over the past 2 years. Calls I didn't remember. Conversations I'd apparently had. Directions I'd provided to a station that didn't exist and places that weren't on any map. Every entry was in my handwriting. Everyone documented successful assistance. I tried to verify the calls. I checked the station database for Riverside Junction activity. No records. I contacted system operations and asked if any intercom traffic had been logged from decommissioned platforms. None. According to the official records, Riverside Junction hadn't transmitted a single call since its closure in 2016. But my logbook disagreed. Last Tuesday, I received another call from Riverside Junction. Different voice this time. Male, elderly, asking about wheelchair accessibility. I confirmed that Riverside Junction wasn't accessible and suggested an alternate station. He thanked me and mentioned that I'd helped him before about a month ago with the same question. I checked my logbook. The entry was there. Same caller, same issue, same resolution. I didn't remember it. I started keeping a secondary log on my phone, documenting every call immediately after it ended. I'd write the details twice, once in my physical logbook as usual and once digitally with timestamps. The goal was to create independent verification, proof that I was actually taking these calls, not just finding entries I didn't recall writing. It didn't work. I'd receive a call, document it digitally, then write it in my logbook. The next day I'd check my phone. The digital entry was gone, deleted, no record. But the logbook entry remained, perfectly intact, dated and detailed. 3 nights ago I received a call from a child, young, maybe 8 or 9 years old, asking how to get home from Riverside Junction. The voice was frightened, uncertain. I asked where home was. The child named a residential district that had been redeveloped in the early 2000s, demolished and replaced with commercial property. No one lived there anymore. I gave directions anyway. Exit Riverside Junction, proceed east, follow the signs. The child thanked me and said I'd helped them before. Last month, same question, same route. I checked my logbook. The entry was there. Last month, same child, same call. The handwriting was mine. I don't work at Riverside Junction. I've never been there. It closed 8 years ago and I have no reason to visit a decommissioned platform. But my logbook insists I help passengers there regularly. Passengers who remember me, who thank me for assistance I don't recall providing, who follow directions to places that no longer exist. Last night I stayed late and reviewed all 37 entries. I called system operations and asked them to check archived intercom footage from Riverside Junction for any of the dates I'd documented. They pulled the files. Every single one showed the same thing: empty platforms, no passengers, no activity. But my logbook entries describe detailed conversations, specific requests, successful resolutions. I don't know who I've been helping. I just know they keep calling and I keep answering, and the logbook keeps filling with conversations I'll never remember having. Story 8. Final broadcast before shift change. The shift change broadcast played at 5:53 in the morning, 7 minutes early. I was reviewing the outgoing schedule when I heard my own voice over the intercom, delivering the handoff summary I hadn't recorded yet. It corrected errors in reports I'd only just begun drafting and referenced incidents that hadn't occurred. The broadcast ended with a reminder. The next supervisor should not answer incoming calls. I'm the next supervisor. My shift doesn't end for 8 hours. I've been a schedule supervisor for the Metropolitan Transit Authority for 12 years. My responsibilities include coordinating shift changes, finalizing operational summaries, reviewing incident reports, and ensuring seamless transition between supervisory teams. The role requires precision and consistency. Every shift ends with a recorded handoff broadcast, a concise summary of the previous 12 hours, logged incidents, pending maintenance, and any notes for the incoming supervisor. I record it manually at 600 hours every morning, exactly 10 minutes before my replacement arrives. The broadcast is procedural. I follow the same format every day. System status, incident overview, maintenance notes, and closing confirmation. It takes approximately 3 minutes to record, and I've delivered the same summary structure for over a decade. The recording is time-stamped and archived in the supervisory log, accessible to all scheduling staff. It's routine. It's predictable. It's never varied. Until last Tuesday. I arrived for my shift at 1800 hours and began the standard intake process. Reviewed the outgoing supervisor's handoff broadcast, cross-referenced incident reports, confirmed maintenance schedules, and logged system status. Everything was normal. The overnight supervisor had documented a minor signal delay on track 4 and a scheduled platform cleaning on the southbound side. Routine notes. I signed off on the handoff and started my shift. At 5:53 in the morning, the intercom activated. I glanced at the clock. 7 minutes early. Shift change broadcasts are always recorded at 0600, not before. I assumed the previous recording had been cued incorrectly and was replaying out of sequence. But when the voice began, I recognized it immediately. It was mine. Good morning. This is Schedule Supervisor Hansen completing the overnight shift summary. System status, operational, all lines running on schedule. Incident log, signal delay on track 4 resolved at 0231, duration 11 minutes. Platform cleaning southbound completed at 0415. Maintenance notes. Ventilation system inspection rescheduled to Thursday due to equipment availability. Pending issues. Intercom malfunction on platform J7 requires follow-up. I froze. I hadn't recorded that summary. I was still compiling the incident data. The signal delay had resolved at 0231. I'd logged it 20 minutes ago, but I hadn't finalized the entry yet. The platform cleaning completion time was accurate, but I'd only just received confirmation. And the intercom malfunction on platform J7 hadn't been reported. There was no maintenance request, no incident flag, nothing in the system indicating an issue. The broadcast continued. Final notes for incoming supervisor. Recommend reviewing archived logs from platform J7. Discrepancies detected in intercom transmission records. Do not answer incoming calls from decommissioned locations. Shift handoff complete. Supervisor Hansen signing off. The intercom went silent. I stared at the speaker, trying to process what I'd just heard. My voice, my phrasing, my name, but I hadn't recorded it. And the content referenced reports I hadn't submitted. I pulled up the supervisory log and checked the archived broadcasts. A new entry appeared, time-stamped 0553, labeled Shift Handoff, Supervisor Hansen. I played it back, identical, same content, same voice, same warnings about platform J7. The system had logged it as official. I checked the incident database for platform J7. Nothing. No malfunction reports, no maintenance flags, no passenger complaints. I accessed the intercom transmission records and filtered by location. Platform J7 showed routine activity, standard announcements, scheduled broadcasts, no anomalies. I decided to investigate manually. I pulled up the live feed from platform J7 and watched. The platform was empty, the intercom panel visible near the south stairwell. I zoomed in. The indicator light was off. No active transmission. I checked the log again. According to the system, the last transmission from platform J7 had occurred at 1822 the previous evening. A standard delay announcement. Routine. But my broadcast had warned about discrepancies. I expanded the search and pulled transmission records for the past month. Platform J7 appeared in 73 entries, all standard. I compared them with archived footage. Every transmission matched the logged timestamp exactly. No discrepancies. No anomalies, except for one detail. In 12 of the recordings, the intercom activated without an associated announcement. The indicator light blinked, the chime sounded, but no audio followed. Just silence for 30 to 45 seconds, then deactivation. The system logged these as completed transmissions, but there was no content. No voice, no message, just silence where an announcement should have been. I flagged the entries and submitted a maintenance request for platform J7. Then I returned to the broadcast. The final line replayed in my head. Do not answer incoming calls from decommissioned locations. Decommissioned locations. I pulled the station directory and filtered for inactive platforms. 3 results. Riverside Junction closed 2016, Platform B4 closed 2009, and Miller Street Station, except Miller Street Station didn't exist. There was no record of a station by that name anywhere in the Transit Authority database, yet it appeared in the decommissioned list, tagged as inactive since 1994. I checked the call log for my direct line. Over the past 6 months, I'd received 41 calls from decommissioned locations. All logged, all documented, all resolved. I didn't remember any of them. I reviewed the notes. Each entry described routine assistance, directions, schedule inquiries, fare card issues, standard calls. But everyone originated from platforms that shouldn't have been able to transmit. I tried to recall if I'd answered any of those calls. I couldn't. My memory of the past 6 months was clear in every other respect. Incidents I'd managed, reports I'd filed, maintenance I'd coordinated. But the calls from decommissioned locations were absent. Just entries in, the log, written in my handwriting, detailing conversations I didn't remember having. At 0600 hours, I recorded my actual shift change broadcast. I followed the standard format, documented the incidents I'd logged, and confirmed system status. I submitted the recording and archived it in the supervisory log. When I checked the database, 2 entries appeared. The one I'd just recorded, time-stamped 0600, and the earlier one from 0553, both labeled as official, both logged under my name. I played them back sequentially. The earlier broadcast was more detailed. It included information I'd omitted, minor discrepancies in maintenance schedules, follow-up notes I'd planned to include but hadn't yet written, and the warning about Platform J7. The broadcast I'd recorded at 0600 sounded incomplete by comparison. Less thorough, less accurate. The system flagged my 0600 recording as redundant and archived it as secondary. The 0553 broadcast remained primary. My replacement arrived at 0610. I briefed him on the overnight incidents, mentioned the signal delay and the platform cleaning, and noted the maintenance request for Platform J7. He acknowledged and signed in. I logged out, gathered my notes, and prepared to leave. As I reached the door, the intercom activated one final time. My voice again. "Supervisor Hansen, confirm, will you be returning for tonight's shift?" I turned back. The intercom panel showed no active transmission. My replacement was staring at the speaker, confused. "Did you just say something?" he asked. I shook my head. The intercom continued. "Confirmed. Supervisor Hansen will remain on duty. Shift extension logged. Next handoff broadcast scheduled for 1800 hours. I hadn't confirmed anything. I hadn't extended my shift. I was scheduled off for the next 2 days, but the system had logged it as official. My replacement checked his terminal. "It's showing you're still active," he said. "Your access hasn't transferred. Did you forget to sign out?" I checked my terminal. Still logged in, still active. I attempted to sign out manually. Access denied. Reason: shift in progress. I called system operations. They confirmed that my shift status showed active, scheduled until 1800 hours, 12 hours from now. I explained that I'd completed my shift and handed off to my replacement. They pulled the log. According to the data, I'd never signed out. The handoff broadcast I'd recorded at 0600 was flagged as incomplete, and the system had automatically extended my shift to ensure supervisory coverage. I asked them to override it. They tried. Override failed. My access remained active, locked in place, scheduled for another 12 hours. I'm still here. My replacement left 2 hours ago, reassigned to a different section because the system insisted I was covering the shift. I've tried logging out 17 times. Every attempt returns the same message. Shift in progress. Sign out restricted. The intercom has been silent since 0611, but I know it's waiting. At 1800 hours, I'll record my next shift change broadcast, summarizing the day's incidents, confirming system status, and preparing for handoff. I just don't know if I'll be the one recording it, or if my voice will play 7 minutes early again, correcting mistakes I haven't made yet and confirming shifts I don't remember agreeing to. The log says I've been here for 8 consecutive shifts. I thought I went home. I thought I slept. 8. Lived outside this control room. But the entries insist otherwise. Every day for the past week, the system shows me signing in at 1800 hours and remaining on duty until 0600. Continuous coverage, no breaks, no days off. I checked my phone. Texts from my wife asking where I am. Messages dated over the past 4 days. I don't remember sending replies, but I must have. She hasn't called emergency services. She hasn't come looking. I must have told her I was working extended shifts. I must have reassured her. But I don't remember any of it. The clock reads 0843. 10 hours until my next shift change broadcast. 10 hours until I find out if I'm still here because I chose to stay or because something else decided I should. The intercom just activated, my voice calm and measured, delivering the morning system summary. I haven't opened my mouth.